Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm happy to take some questions, but I'm also just happy to give you a kind of a brief statement. This morning I was able to see some of the press releases around the chair's budget, and this has been certainly something that I've been talking about with the chair for the past month. But I'll tell you, this morning I was quite frankly just disgusted by what I saw. This budget absolutely does not support public safety. What I saw in these documents, quite frankly, are misleading. When you see things like the chair is somehow supporting public safety, when you actually dig into the numbers, which, quite frankly, budgets are difficult, but this at best is fuzzy math. At best, it is a way to try to take, some creative accounting to hide the reality. And the reality is, this budget and the chair's budget absolutely does not support public safety in this community, and the community deserves better. And the community's been asking and begging for better. And so certainly I will be out in the community to make sure that they know and go to the county commission to demand better. But where we're at today is at a crossroads, and this community is starting to kind of dig out of some tough times. They elected me because they wanted to see better out of public safety, and quite frankly, they deserve better. And I certainly hope that the other county commissioners recognize that and will support a budget that actually looks at how can we be supportive of public safety here in Multnomah County.
Where do you see the shortfalls as you see them?
Well, I'm going to be very blunt with you. When I look at this document and it puts some green arrow up that says that somehow they are increasing public safety, if you go through the numbers, the district attorney's office, our current service level is going to be reduced by 5%. That means that this office will lose 10 people. And there's, as much as you want to try to call things one-time funding or this or that and push it around, whatever shell game you want to call it, the reality is that under this budget, this office will be laying off people. We will be unable to serve victims of domestic violence. We'll be unable to properly serve children in our juvenile services unit. Clearly, one of the things you're not told under this budget is the chair is not funding the auto theft task force, one of our absolute most successful positions within the district attorney's office. We have seen a dramatic turnaround in our community, and that has been due to the partnership with local law enforcement and with our efforts working hard on that issue. And so right as we're starting to make some progress in that area, the chair is I'm going to call it disinvesting or not funding, however you want to call it, cutting that program.
She said it's a 3% reduction. You're saying 5%. Can you explain where the discrepancy is?
Yeah, this is part of that thing. When we look at, budgets and, the fuzzy math component, I look at the reality of every day. And when I look at our current service level and I look at what does that mean? When I get this budget come, July 1st, it is a 5% reduction. Because what she's not telling you is she didn't pick up what we call one-time funding. I think the average person thinks of one-time funding like, hey, you need money this year to go buy a new copy machine. This one-time funding that she's talking about, it's not one-time funding. This is a position. These are a deputy DA who is handling auto theft, a deputy DA who's handling organized retail theft. These are ongoing issues that our community is struggling with, and they're ones that we've actually been doing a great job with, and we need to continue. Certainly, I'm very concerned. I haven't even touched the part where I said, hey, when I got elected, I put forth some requests to actually help this community go in a better direction. I put together a package that was about $4.5 million. None of that was approved. And when I look over at across, when I'm looking across this budget, one of the things that was shocking is that the chair chose to take out of our general funds, our core, what should be for our core services, she took about $23 million to put to the homeless services division. So she is doubling down on some very failed issues that we've had in this community, and she's taking it out of our core funding, our general fund, instead of funding the district attorney's office, instead of funding the Department of Community Justice, maybe in fact improving with the sheriff's office. So this is a direct move in the wrong direction for this community.
As you know, homeless services is a big issue for people in the community, and people do want to see, changes there. Where are you proposing she gets that money instead of the general fund?
Our community has been extremely generous. We passed the homeless, the HSH funding, and so certainly there is that money there. And what we've seen is that budget has grown tremendously over the years. We are currently well over $300 million that is being pumped into that. The district attorney's office budget is actually one of the smallest in the county, if not the smallest budget in the county. And so she's taking a budget that is one of the smallest in the counties that is really almost entirely, over 80% of that budget is personnel. And she's cutting that, and so that means a loss of people that are providing direct services to the safety of this community, to victims, to the community as a whole.
We got the same sheet you did. You referenced that green arrow pointing up. I asked the chair, talking about public safety, the decision to cut from your office. She says everyone across the board has to tighten their belts. What are your thoughts?
Well, certainly when you're making decisions about core services, she should be looking at that. But what she did is she took $23 million of our core service money and put it towards towards the Department of Homeless Services. So instead of giving core service money to the district attorney's office, to others, she put $23 million. That's almost half of my budget that she pushed over there. That's new money out of general funds.
Have you talked to some of the other commissioners on where they stand on this? I know it's just happened, but have you had a chance to talk to anyone else?
I have had some conversations, and I've heard some very, very supportive of public safety comments out of them. Certainly in my discussions with them, they have said that public safety is a top priority for this community, and it's one that we just came out of an extremely rough time, and we're just starting to see some progress being made, and this is the wrong direction. I can tell you, I've been out talking to the community, and I've gotten a broad base of support. Everything from the Attorney General's office to local groups like the Historic Park Rose Business District. This is something that our community desperately wants and needs, is a well-funded public safety system, and all I'm asking is for balance. And I can tell you right now, this budget does not take a balanced approach to helping this community.
She asked Kotek for money. If Kotek forks over that money, maybe this problem is solved. What's your take on all of this? Are you talking to the governor?
Certainly, she has made that request to the governor, but I think we saw some real problems, and we saw the governor push back specifically on that because when she rolled that out, that was incorrect. And so, this is about what we're doing here locally. And I'm going to refer you back to that general funds. We have the funds and the resources in this community. It's about the decisions that we make and the priorities. I find it hard to believe that, on one hand, we're hearing that the chair says it's a priority to serve families and some of our most vulnerable communities. But across the board in this budget, we're seeing cuts in our juvenile services and our domestic violence areas. And so this budget doesn't match the county's values.
I asked you about specifically the decisions to cut from your office. She says your budget was reduced at a much lower level than some others across the county, but what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think when you actually look at the numbers, the 5% is at a rate that is not going to help this community. Did some of them lose some money? Yes, they did. But I would point you back to these other increases in the general fund, again, where you're seeing this kind of shell game of moving money out of what should be our core services and moving that around to the tune of $23 million. And this office is going to lose some critical services that go directly to helping this community at a time when you go out and speak with the everyday community member, they want public safety.
What do you want to say to the people of Portland that see this and as a representative of the DA's office?
We're here every day fighting hard for this community, for victims, for the community, as particularly the areas out in East County. And this is one where the community needs to come forward and tell the chair and the commissioners their values and really stand up and demand public safety. And this is one where we are eager and ready and willing to do that. We just need the support of the county.
It sounds like you're saying the Homeless Services Department does not need more money, but as we've seen with that budget deficit, there could be shelter beds cut if they don't get that money. Are you saying they should cut some shelter beds, or?
Let's ask some basic questions. has that been working? Have we seen that improve? We've seen massive increases in the budget, and we haven't seen, what we've seen here recently is, the numbers seem to just get worse and worse. What I'm saying is we need a better balanced approach. Even that, our office has a homeless resource deputy DA position. That's being cut. So this is one where the cuts are out of balance, particularly for the district attorney's office.
Mr. Vasquez, you held up that piece of paper and you called it disgusting. Maybe you'd like to do it again for the cameras. No, I'm just kidding. But,
Right here.
You're not going anywhere. The chair, Jessica Vega Pederson, she's not going anywhere. Are you worried that you're going to blow up this relationship with these comments?
Look, I've been elected by this community to go out and improve public safety, and it is, playing nice politics is not going to help this community. I'm here to demand what this community deserves.
We still have 7 weeks until that budget is voted on. She says in that time she's welcoming conversation and wants to hear from people. Are you optimistic that you'll get the change that you want to see in that time?
I certainly am optimistic in the sense that I'm hearing regularly from the community. They are sending in letters of support, whether it's from individuals, organizations, groups, such as everything from the Attorney General's office to TriMet, to business associations, to everyday individual groups. I will be working diligently every day with our county commissioners to see if I can work with them to get the votes necessary to amend the budget in a way that really reflects the values of this community.
If it comes down to reducing DA or public safety funding versus reducing homelessness, how do you think Portlanders and people in the county would vote?
Again, it's about balance, and what I'm asking is that we look at a balanced approach. And when we get into difficult times, you look at your core services, and I believe that one of the core services of this community is providing public safety. It is something that when we have a healthy and well-maintained public safety system, we don't see businesses and residents flee. This is an area where we have seen a tremendous amount of loss of our tax base, part of the big reason why we're here in this problem, because of a lack of public safety in recent years. And so it's time to say, hey, let's stand up for that core value. Let's push that forward. We need to have a budget that reflects a community that feels safe, that is safe, that is a healthy place for families, and is a vital place, that's vibrant for businesses, one that everyone can thrive in.
But back to that question, if Portlanders were to take a vote between reducing one or the other, how do you think they would vote?
I think they would look at public safety as a core feature, and they would vote to support public safety. They certainly made that loud and clear when they elected me for change, and I think that's something that people are looking for.
Budget sticks as it is. Who are you letting go? Where are you seeing the cuts?
Certainly I'm going to have to take a hard look at some of these things. We are looking at losing a prosecutor in our domestic violence unit. We're looking at losing a prosecutor in our treatment court unit, our auto theft task force, and potentially in our organized retail theft. Those are ones that just come to the top of mind. We also have an amazing program that does community outreach, that does harm, that reduces barriers, things of that nature through our MAPS program. We may need to change there as well. This is something that, it is going to cut to the bone. We do not have a situation where we have room to just simply move a few things around and be okay.
The county chair said you sat down and spoke yesterday. Do you feel blindsided even coming out of that meeting?
I would say that I made my feelings very clear to her that I didn't believe that her budget supported public safety. So what I felt blindsided by were some of the information that was included in these flyers that seemed to make it look like somehow she was supporting public safety when I clearly do not believe this budget supports public safety.
What's your total budget?
Our total budget currently stands at around $54 million, and this will reduce it by, like I said, by about 5%.
Do you think this is a step backwards?
Yes, this budget is a step backwards from public safety and from the values of public safety.
$54 million the fiscal year we're in, and it's going to go down 5% in the next one?
Yes.
26?
Yes, that's correct.
And that's mostly from one-time funding that's not been continued, from what you said?
It's a mix. It is one-time funding that's not being continued and a cut of other positions.
the cut of the other positions is what's mentioned in here though, right? And so you're saying the one-time funding stuff is what's not mentioned,
Yes.
what's not taken into consideration?
And what I'm telling you is our current service levels that we are dealing with, this is a 5% reduction. And this is an instance where there has been, quite frankly, creative accounting, fuzzy math, however you want to call it, to try to hide the reality that this does not support public safety.
Is that why, if you read their release, it makes it sound like it's hunky-dory, there's no cuts coming to public safety? Is that just lies then, that?
I'll let people draw their own conclusions. I think it is an effort to really to mislead what the reality is. And the reality is it's a 5% reduction. We're looking at losing 10 people in my office, and it will hurt public safety.
And that includes that, was it 2.5 one-time funding that the chair talked about giving you guys? Is that it?
There was some double counting in that. So when I read the press release, there was something that it mentioned that and then talked about supporting the MAPS programs that was quite frankly double counting. And so I have a hard time with that because what I look at is what am I going to be able to provide to the public? What are the positions I'm able to fund? And at the end of the day, this is a 5% reduction to the district attorney's office at a time when I know the community wants to see improvements in public safety.
Net 5 down. All things being equal, all of
Exactly.
bells and whistles, you're down 5%.
Yes, and this
54.
tries to say somehow that it implies that somehow we're up 3.5%,
Yeah.
but we are clearly not.
It's two different formulas there.
Yeah, and it's
You ran the numbers, and this is what it's going to mean to you.
absolutely is that we're looking at approximately 5% down, and when I'm dealing with the reality of how you run an organization, and you're talking about employees and their lives, it's 5%. It's 10 positions.
With the new county commission members, do you expect to see a little more balance with what you're asking for there, or how do you expect this to move forward?
I'm certainly hopeful. I'll say that I'm disappointed because the chair certainly said that public safety was a priority, and I don't believe this budget reflects that. But I'll say that I judge each commissioner at their own word, and each one of them has said repeatedly that they value public safety, and this is an opportunity for them to show that.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
It's gonna be a first time I've seen all the questions answered in a press conference. Thank you.
Would you like to go on?